Part 26. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 251. When Xiao sniffed, and the courier delivered a courier, which was a certificate of donation to Hope Primary School. He happened to be going to Xiaotangshan tonight. The Maybach stopped at the alleyway with green tiles and white walls. Wen Xiao looked around and quickly got into his car. Her symptoms of a cold are hoarse voice, nasal sound, and some lightheadedness and dizziness. She took 2 pills and slept tonight, and she should be fine tomorrow. How did you do on the exam? Wen Xiao, it's okay. I always feel that if she said she won first place, Fu Nanli would give her a big gift. How's it okay? It's at the mid-range level, not bad but not good. Anyone failed the class? No. Fu Nanli nodded. Well, that means you did well in the exam. Wen Xiao. Why did you catch a cold again? Wen Xiao pursed her lips and did not say that she caught a cold while watching the concert with Lu Yuyu. She only said, I stayed up late reading during the final exam. Maybe, I'm tired. Simply because I think it's more honorable to learn to stay up late to get through a cold. You studied so hard, so you just didn't fail the class. The little liar is talking nonsense again. Wen Xiao smiled guiltily, maybe I'm not very talented. When they arrived at Xiaotangshan, Fu Nanli's private room was still filled with the same people, but He Yan brought a best friend over. The two were whispering to each other, but when they saw Wen Xiao, the best friend's eyes looked like an X-ray film, looking up and down. Holding her. After some introduction, I learned that the person was Fang Beiyin, the daughter of an electrical appliance tycoon. As soon as Fu Nanli raised his hand, Fu Cheng came over with a velvet box. Xiao did well in the final exam, so I give her a gift. He Yan's eyes darkened and she forced a smile. The box opens and there is a key. Wen Xiao was worried, what is this? The owner of the yard next to your house has emigrated abroad a long time ago and has been vacant. I bought it and opened it up so that you can live more spaciously. Wen Xiao was moved and worried. It was an old house in the city. She knew the market price, it was very expensive. Fang Beiyin couldn't help but said, Master Fu, how well did Xiao Wen do in the exam? Your move is the best in the city. Didn't fail the class. He Wan couldn't help laughing, wow, that's really a good test. He Yan couldn't stop laughing. Fu Nanli had always been unprincipled when she met Wen Xiao. If she didn't fail the exam, it would be considered a good test, and she would be rewarded with a house. It was funny and made her feel a lot of envy and jealousy. Come. This girl is really lucky to be doted on by a man unconditionally, or by a proud man like Fu Nanli. Wen Xiao hurriedly took out the donation certificate of Hope Primary School from his bag. I also have a gift for you. What is it? I donated 2 Hope Primary Schools in your name in the Northwest, called Nanli Primary School. This is the certificate. He Yan's hand holding the cup was shaking slightly. The little girl really knew how to please Nanli. The gift is really unique. Fu Cheng teased, so you called us here just to watch you torture dogs. Fu Nanli took the certificate, lowered his eyes to read the words on it, raised one hand and touched her head, don't spend money randomly in the future. The gifts she gives are always so special and meaningful, but they do cost money. Wen Xiao put his hands on his knees and smiled sincerely, as long as you are happy. Fang Beiyin said, what Mr. Fu means is that Xiao Wen, your house is very small and the house is very crowded, but why do you have money to donate to Mr. Fu's Hope Primary School? Xiao Wen, if your family is not rich, you should still use the money. It's more meaningful to be kind to your family members. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 252. Fu Nanli's eyes turned from the certificate to Fang Beiyin's face, and his eyes were so cold that Fang Beiyin felt a chill on the back of his neck. Fu Nanli's voice was cold. Qiao Qiao is very good to her family, so I won't bother you. Fang Beiyin felt so guilty that she quickly said, I'm sorry, Mr. Fu, I. Fu Nanli ignored her and said to the waiter, make a cup of pear juice. Fu Cheng said, Xiao Wen has a cold. Wen Qiao nodded. Fang Beiyin was so embarrassed that she glanced at Wen Qiao one more time, you little vixen. Fu Cheng asked again, why do you catch a cold? Fu Nanli, I stayed up late studying, I'm tired. Wen Qiao. Brother, please stop talking. Except for He Yan and Fang Beiyin, everyone at the table looked like they couldn't help laughing. Fang Beiyin came here today just to vent her anger on her best friend. She took out her cell phone and said, Xiao Wen, I think you got cold from watching Shang Fan's concert yesterday. He Wan frowned slightly and glanced at his sister. He Yan had an innocent look on her face, and it was clear that what she wants to say has nothing to do with me. Fu Nanli didn't speak. Fang Beiyin quickly walked around the round table and walked to them. She put her phone over and showed it to Fu Nanli. Last night, she went to see Shang Fan's concert, and after it was over, she and a group of little fans were doing hygiene outside. Online it is said that Xiao Wen and Shang Fan have a close relationship. Oh, by the way, that night when Xiao Wen was revealed to be Miu Yu, Shang Fan was also photographed wandering around Wenxi Art Center. Some people said that he was trying to help Xiao Wen move. Attention, so, Mr. Fu, Xiaoan went to the concert last night, didn't he tell you? Wen Qiao didn't say anything, but he just felt that catching a cold while watching a concert seemed too playful, and staying up late studying to catch a cold made his face look more radiant. Why did Fang Beiyin add fuel to the fire, and the nature seemed to have changed? Fu Nanli looked at the people in the video with a smile in his eyes, gently waving the light sign in his hand, and stared at the man named Shang Fan on the stage with great concentration. The mandibular muscles moved slightly, and then he glanced at Fang Beiyin indifferently. As I said, I know she went to the concert. He Yan looked at Fu Nanli carefully the whole time. His micro-expressions could not deceive anyone. Wen Qiao obviously didn't tell him. Fu Nanli was just trying to save Wen Qiao's face. He must have been questioned after the dinner. Fang Beiyin looked a little embarrassed. Did you say it? Fu Nanli's cold gaze made Fang Beiyin immediately shut up. That's because I'm talking too much. He Wan didn't save face for her. You still know that you talk too much. Do you need to interrupt and say this between lovers? It was obviously his sister who asked Fang Beiyin to say this, and this girl just refused to give up. Fang Beiyin returned to her seat obediently, with a fleeting smile on her face. Anyway, she has said everything that needs to be said. The relationship between this little fox and Shang Fan seems to be extraordinary. It depends on whether Mr. Fu will think too much about it. Halfway through the meal, the waiter came in with pear juice. Fu Nanli took it, stirred it gently with a spoon, and handed it to her. Drink it. He didn't seem to be affected by what had just happened at all. He was still caring for her, and He Yan's eyes darkened. During the second half of the meal, they were talking about the He family's debt crisis. Wen Qiao was groggy because of a cold, and his eyelids were a little twitchy. Until her shoulders were taken into his arms, a deep voice sounded, "Okay, let's go." Only then did Wen Qiao know that they had finished talking. Fu Nanli said to the people at the table, "She has a cold, I will take her away first, and you can chat." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 253. Wen Qiao stood up and said goodbye to everyone, and was carried out by Fu Nanli. Looking up, he saw that the lines on his side face were a little tight and his thin lips were pursed tightly. Wen Qiao could feel that he was not very happy. As soon as they left, Fang Beiyin immediately approached He Yan and whispered, "Guess, does that little fox and Shang Fan really have something?" He Yan's smile was a bit sarcastic and she said nothing. "I guess Mr. Fu is definitely interested." He almost didn't smile during the meal. He Yan smiled, a bit gloating. Unexpectedly, the angrier and jealous Fu Nanli became, which meant that he cared more about Wen Qiao. She is really obsessed with the authorities and has caused many things. Wen Qiao was carried into the car by Fu Nanli. In public, he would always take care of her face. When He Qian presented evidence in Munich that she had something to do with Zhuang Yan, he also said that he knew about it and only returned to the room. Well. He leaned down and kissed her again. The cold made her consciousness somewhat blurred, but his kiss was so clear and profound. When he was in a bad mood, kissing was always very rough, which was incompatible with his status as an educated young man. After the kiss ended, Wen Qiao felt a little pain at the corner of his mouth, and then he remembered, a cold can be contagious. Fu Nanli clasped her hand, and their fingers were clasped together. Wen Qiao was pressed so hard that he couldn't move. In the flickering light, his expression was very gloomy. "You're tired of catching a cold after staying up late studying." The tone is somewhat playful and unpleasant. Wen Qiao smiled guiltily, "I didn't mean to hide it from you. I just think that staying up late studying to catch a cold is more glorious than watching a concert and catching a cold." Fu Nanli grabbed her wrist with great strength, but Wen Qiao just endured it. Between Shang Fan. Wen Qiao's eyes were clear, "We have a cooperative relationship. When he hugged me last time, I gave him a shoulder throw instead. You all saw it? Because Yu and Chun Xiao are obsessed with Shang Fan and want to see the concert, so I accompanied him now together." Fu Nanli hugged her into his arms. "Am I boring to you?" There is endless loneliness in the voice. Maybe she was forced to stay with him because of those unavoidable reasons. If she had a choice, she probably wouldn't guard him. Wen Qiao felt so distressed that her body's most primitive reaction made her unable to breathe. "No, you are very good, you are very good. In this world, Fu Nanli is the best." When their car left, the He family brothers and sisters also got into the car. He Wan looked ugly, "Don't do such little tricks again." He Yan raised her chin and sneered, "What little trick did I do? Fang Beiyin is your vanguard. I will help you say things that are inconvenient for you to say. Do you think I don't know? Do you think Fang Beiyin has a chance to enter Xiaotangshan again? Fu Nanli has been blacklisted this morning." He Yan frowned, "At least let Fu Nanli know that that girl is not simple." He Wan pinched his eyebrows and said, "Don't come to Xiaotangshan anymore. Elder brother. He Yan, do you think your little actions can really affect their relationship? Do you think Fu Nanli is such a lack of confidence in relationships? Do you think his girlfriend can make him go to a Stars concert? A big mess? What are you thinking about?" He Yan smiled, "I think Fu Nanli is indeed unhappy because of this matter. I think you are hopeless. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me." Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 254. He Yan, "I didn't harm anyone, I just told the truth, brother, you don't have to worry about me." "So you think it's a good thing that Fu Nanli is angry?" "The angrier Fu Nanli is, the more he cares about the little girl, and the more he likes her." He Yan's face turned pale. "No, this is a fallacy." The brother and sister didn't talk about each other for more than half a sentence, and they broke up unhappy. During the subsequent journey, Fu Nanli didn't say much, and Wen Qiao's hand was held in his palm until he sweated. Wen Qiao had a vague feeling that Fu Nanli seemed afraid of losing her. She didn't know where his worries came from, and she didn't know how to comfort him. She was afraid that she would make a mistake if she said too much, so she didn't dare to speak easily. When he arrived at the entrance of Shuiying Road, Wen Qiao got out of the car, with the window half opened, and he watched her leave. She walked forward along the long alley, and when she looked back, she saw that he was completely lost in the night. The sight of him being shrouded in endless loneliness made her heart suffocate. I really want to go back, hug him, and say something to comfort him. But she really didn't know what to say to comfort him. At this moment, she hated her rough nerves. Why couldn't she be more sensitive? Why couldn't she see his inner emotions? Fu Nanli waved to her, and Wen Qiao could only turn and leave. The next morning, her mother went to work at the convenience store. Wen Qiao drank soy milk and meditated hard. I really can't think of a reason why. Wen Qi scratched his neck. What are you doing? You're so distracted. I watched Chang Fan's concert, and Fu Nanli didn't seem very happy. Please help me analyze it from a boy's point of view. Wen Qi took a bite of the fried dough stick and said, my brother-in-law, that's the eldest son of the Fu family, the sole heir to the Zhonghuan group, and the best, most handsome and badass captain of Dongchuan Airlines. How can he be jealous just because his girlfriend went to a concert? No, you are thinking too much. The better a man is, the more confident he is, and the more tolerant he is to his girlfriend. Really? But I do think he's a little down. When she looked like he had experienced many battles, no, you must be thinking too much. It is impossible for you to stop dating all men just because you are in love. It is not a feudal society. After you get married, you will have children in the Purta. My brother-in-law is not that kind of person. The key is that you just went to Shang Fan's concert and didn't do anything else. You didn't even go backstage to visit and take a photo. Wen Qiao glanced at him. How did you get so many great principles and still keep doing the same thing? Didn't you ask me that? I'll just analyze it casually. You are not allowed to fall in love, you are still young, you know. When she got angry, who is in love? You are such an interesting person. I won't be your military advisor from now on. Okay, don't you have to go to the CG club for an interview today? Eat quickly, let's go together after breakfast, will Xiao Mo go? When Mo nodded. Wen Qiao couldn't help but touched his head. Really? In the past, when Mo was very homely and almost unwilling to go out and interact with the outside world. Now the situation is really much better. When Mo nodded again. The three siblings and Xia Bodinghai went to the CG club together. The average height of the boys in their group is close to 180, and Wen Qiao is 170. They are handsome, beautiful, and young. They get on the subway together. All of them have the aura of big guys blowing up the streets, attracting the attention of many passengers. Transfer from line 2 to line 1, exit the subway, walk a few steps, and arrive at CG Club. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 255. It was a large courtyard with several buildings decorated in Baroque style. I heard that they were here to interview youth trainees. The security guard asked them to fill out a registration form and let them in. After entering the 4-story building, a staff member led them upstairs. After exiting the elevator, the walls in the corridor were filled with certificates of honor obtained by the CG Club. When passing a room, a man wearing a light gray sweater came out of it. He looked not very good. He bumped into Wen Mo when he rushed out. Wen Qiao grabbed Wen Mo and looked the boy up and down. Wen Qi raised his eyebrows. This was Luoying, Luoshan, the most powerful master in the CG Club. Last time, he shot the Luoshan in the head with an arm. Luoying said he was cheating, and the barrage in the live broadcast room was full of people scolding Wen Qi. This Luoshan cannot afford to lose. After Luoying was shot in the head by a randomly matched boy, As a professional player, he could naturally tell whether the opponent had opened the lock or not. After the report was later found out, the other party was not cheating, and he did not tell his fans about it. He went to Wen Kai's live broadcast room several times and saw that his marksmanship was extremely accurate, his hands were steady and fast, he was patient, he also had a good sense of overall combat, and he was good at cooperating with his teammates. He asked someone to investigate the young anchor and found that he was actually a junior high school student. Now that I saw Wen Qi, I naturally knew him. He glanced at us with a sarcastic expression. Is that you? Wen Qi put his hands in his pockets. It's me. Are you here to interview youth trainees? Yes. There's no need for that. The youth trainees are full this time. You can leave. Wen Qiao looked slightly stern. The enrollment information on your CG official website is still posted on it. If the recruitment is full, this information should be removed. Do you have the final say on CG? When Luo Ying saw Wen Qiao, his eyes were a little surprised, and then he looked arrogant and disdainful and said, I said I won't do it, I just won't do it anymore, you can leave. Wen Qiao looked at the front desk lady who led them up. Where is the interviewer? When the receptionist saw that Lu Ying had a bad attitude towards them, he became a little arrogant. Captain Luo has the final say, you can go. Wen Qi lowered his head and chuckled. A cold light flashed in Lu Ying's eyes. Why are you laughing? Is it because I shot you in the head, so you don't dare to recruit me? Are you afraid that I will steal your limelight? Lu Ying gritted her teeth and pointed at his head. If you don't get out, I'll call the security guard. Xiaobai and Ding Hai were more excited than Wen Qi and almost made a move, but Wen Qi pulled them back. Wen Qiao said coldly, the captain of this club is a headstrong man with a weak heart and poor quality. Let's go. We don't care about this bad club. Behind him, the disdainful voice of the fallen god came. How glorious is it to win by cheating? It's just a thing like this, and you still dream about entering CG. What a dream. Wen Qi turned around, made a shooting gesture with his finger, squinted one eye, and aimed at Lu Ying. Bang. Then he turned around, his eyebrows stern. Lu Ying was so angry that he was hysterical. You are so crazy at a young age. I have seen many players like you. You are a flash in the pan. You think you are qualified, but in fact you are nothing. He's anxious, he's anxious. He was so anxious that he uttered obscenities without restraint. Wen Qiao looked at Wen Qi, who was standing aside. This child was no longer the man who got so mad when provoked that he only wanted to use violence to solve problems. Not angry. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 256. When Chimei's eyes were high-spirited and full of confidence, I will use my strength to teach him how to behave. Xiaobo Dinghai gritted his teeth and said, if you can't defeat others, then you can accuse them of cheating, and they are still in a daze. Is he worthy? That night, several of them watched Lu Ying's live broadcast in front of the computer, and had a friendly match with an entertainment anchor on the live broadcast platform. Xiaobai and Ding Hai were singing in harmony as if they were having a crosstalk. It's time for Lu Ying to retire, he's getting old. And he especially doesn't like to cooperate. He likes to be in the limelight and show off. In the past, a person who was good at shooting alone was very good, but now that he is getting older, his reflexes are no longer good. He loves to be tough, and his strength is not good enough. If it weren't for the good cooperation of his teammates, he would have been defeated in the regular season this time. During the live broadcast, Lu Ying was still scolding his teammates. He seemed to be a very conceited and arrogant person. Suddenly, the computer screen goes black. Several people watching the live broadcast were collectively confused. There was an event on the live broadcast platform today. Professional players and anchors competed in a group match. It was not a formal competition, but it was indeed a very important live broadcast. The computer screen suddenly went black, but the voice of Lu Ying, who was wearing a headset and speaking, could still be heard. Damn, MD, what's going on? Why did the computer suddenly go black? He had already announced on Weibo that he would be ranked first. Compared with him, entertainment bloggers would not be completely crushed. Who knows that at the critical moment, the computer suddenly loses control. If you fall behind, hurry up, change the computer quickly. If you lose this game, the score will be caught up by the opponent. Wen Xiao looked around. Her Xiao Mo was sitting alone on the sofa, scrolling through his phone. She didn't go over and looked at the computer screen again. Lu Ying's panicked voice reached the live broadcast room with a black screen through the headset. What are you doing? Why is this computer broken? Where are the people from the technical department? And the voices of messy teammates, falling behind, this game is lost. Why isn't the computer ready yet? There was a chaos of war and chaos, and although the picture could not be seen, one could always hear Lu Ying's voice cursing at his mother. The computer remained black until the end of the game. The entertainment anchor team that he looked down upon won first place. Then I heard the sound of something being thrown. It was probably Lu Ying, who had dropped his earmuffs, and then there was no sound. Ding Hai and Xiaobai gloated, which angel sister vented this bad breath for us? Wen Xiao then walked to the sofa and leaned over to take a look. Xiao Mo is playing Sudoku. Wen Mo looked obedient and nodded. She turned to look at the three people in front of the computer. It feels like it was hacked. Xiaobai got excited. The computers in clubs like theirs have very high firewall levels and cannot be hacked easily. Wen Xiao, that should be a pretty powerful hacker. Ding Hai clapped his hands. It seems that Lu Ying has offended a lot of people, he deserves it. When Fu Nanli returned home at the Fu family villa, he saw an uninvited guest. Fu Jiang's grandfather and his grandfather were sitting together drinking tea and chatting, while Fu Jiang was sitting aside. When he saw Fu Nanli, Fu Jiang stood up quickly and called him brother in a respectful manner. Fu Nanli took off his coat and Uncle Li took it. What would you like to drink, young master? Black tea. Good. Fu Nanli walked over, but Fu Jiang didn't dare to make any move until he sat down. Fu Nanli sat down on the sofa next to the old man, his eyes wandering on his second grandfather Fu Huade and Fu Jiang. Fu Huayong raised his head and glanced at Fu Jiang. What are you standing for? Sit down. Only then did Fu Jiang sit down tremblingly. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 257. Uncle Li came over with a porcelain cup with a golden handle, placed it next to Fu Nanli's hand, and handed him a hot towel. After Fu Nanli wiped his hands, he took the towel and stepped aside. A smile appeared on Fu Nanli's face, and he asked politely, "Second grandpa is here today. What's the matter?" Fu Huade sighed and said, "It's not this kid who got into trouble. It was raining outside, a rainy winter night, damp and cold, just like his heart, without any warmth." "Oh? What trouble did you get into?" "He went to play with others about debt. He originally said that it was very reliable and this investment would definitely make money. However, he didn't expect that a subprime mortgage crisis suddenly broke out in that foreign company, and a large amount of money he invested was all wasted. Now there is a problem with Zongheng's capital chain, so..." Fu Nanli's smile did not reach his eyes. He Kong wanted to ask him for help when something happened. Fu Jiang also came to his house for help when something happened. It's quite interesting. Second grandpa should know that in the middle of the year, I invested in a team and spent a lot of money. In addition, Xianzhen's airline had a public relations crisis. Before you, a lot of money had been transferred to Shenzhen. It's needed urgently, so. Fu Huaiyang looked at his grandson meaningfully but said nothing. Fu Huade sighed, "Hey, Nan Li, you can't just watch your second grandfather's company collapse. Help as much as you can." Fu Nanli took a sip of tea and said, "Let's talk about it later." His expression was pale, and there was a chill deep in his eyes. Fu Huade knew the character of a junior like him. Fu Nanli was a typical person who was cold on the outside and cold on the inside. So far, he had never shown any compassion for anyone. He quickly said, okay, then Fu Zhang and I will leave first." After saying goodbye to Fu Huaiyang, the two left the mansion one after another. Only then did Fu Huaiyang speak, "Before you came back, I was planning to agree to help them." Before he could speak in the future, his grandson came back. Fu Nanli leaned into the sofa and glanced at his grandfather. "If you knew that your grandson almost died in a wheel, and the culprit was Fu Zhang, would you still solve their family's urgent needs?" Fu Huaiyang's face suddenly darkened. "What did you say?" Fu Nanli held the white glazed porcelain cup and manipulated the golden handle with his slender fingers. He lowered his eyes and said, "I didn't plan to tell you originally, for fear that you would be worried. In June, I had a car accident." Fu Huaiyang hurriedly came forward, grabbed his wrist and checked it up and down. "You kid, there was a car accident in June, and you only told me in January. You deliberately wanted to piss me off." Fu Nanli patted his grandfather on the back. "I'm just afraid that you will be as worried as you are now. You have a bad heart and I'm afraid that you will scare your old man." Fu Huaiyang gradually calmed down. "You said Fu Zhang designed the car accident? Do you have any evidence?" His driver handled everything secretly, and the driver was indeed under his instructions. A cold light flashed in Fu Huaiyang's eyes. "I am still raising a tiger for trouble, he is going to rebel." Fu Nanli patted the old man's hand. "You don't have to worry about it, I will take care of everything." The car was speeding all the way, and Fu Zhang and his grandfather returned home together. Fu Zhang looked sinister. "Are you going to keep groveling to them? Grandpa, you are the old man's brother, not his servant. When will this kind of life end? Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me." Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 258. A big slap came on Fu Jiang's face. Fu Jiang gritted his teeth and pressed the tip of his tongue against the root of his teeth. The slap was so heavy that his teeth bled, and the smell of blood was strong at the tip of his tongue. "If you dare to say this again, try it." "Grandfather! Shut up. Without your uncle and his family, there would be no Zhongheng. Don't say such things again in the future, otherwise no one can save you." Fu Zhang gritted his teeth and said, "My uncle is already dead. If Fu Nanli dies too, Grandpa, who do you think should inherit this huge family business?" Fu Huade's eyes flashed coldly, and he was filled with disbelief. "Do you know what you are talking about? Why are you so crazy? Fu Zhang is indeed a dandy, and he is indeed arrogant. Of course, he can only be arrogant when Fu Nanli is not around. He is indeed afraid of Fu Nanli, but he also really hates Fu Nanli. There is only one heir in the direct line, Fu Nanli. If Fu Nanli dies, the nearest family heir will obviously be him. Therefore, he had thoughts of killing once. But he didn't expect that he would fall short. Fu Nanli had always looked down on him. He was obviously a cousin, but when he saw Fu Nanli, he had to grovel like a servant. How could he swallow this? The old man found out about Fu Nanli's car accident, and Ye Mingqiu found out soon after. When she came back in a hurry, Fu Nanli was picking wine in the wine cellar. Cold rain was falling outside the floor-to-ceiling windows. The temperature in the wine cellar was 15 degrees, and the temperature for red wine storage should be kept between 7 and 18 degrees. Across the wooden frame, Yamingkaiu saw his son's leisurely demeanor and said angrily, Fu Zhang must have a heart and a courage. He dares to harm you. What kind of thing is he? He is plotting to get you. Fu Nanli's fingers hovered between the two bottles of wine and he ignored his mother. Yamingkaiu's every word was filled with the smell of gunpowder. Everything in their family was given by your grandfather. Without our family, don't you know what kind of life they have lived? They even turned against each other. What was he thinking? He thinks that if we get rid of you, our family's fortune will fall on him. Fu Nanli took out a bottle of wine and raised his eyebrows, then let everything go back to where it started. It's true that fighting for rice only nourishes kindness, and shouldering rice only nourishes hatred. There's no need to be polite to their family. After a pause, he added, did you cause the subprime mortgage crisis and the debt-obsessed incident? Fu Nanli took the wine and walked out. What do you think? Yamingkaiu curled her lips, originally planning to vent her anger on her son's behalf. Think about it, although her son has been flying airplanes all these years, if he really wants to play tricks on the city, I am afraid that she will not be her son's opponent. That Fu Zhang was even more unworthy of being a rival to her son. If you need my help, if you need anything, let me know. It's time to clean up the house. New. Fu Nanli went upstairs and to the side hall. Yamingkaiu called Uncle Li. You always knew, didn't you? Uncle Li said tremblingly, the young master was afraid that the old man and madam would worry you, so he never said anything. What were the circumstances of the car accident? When the young master was going to the airport, his car was hit by a concrete truck. Then what? Then he was rescued. By whom? Uncle Li hesitated and said, Miss Wen Qiaoan. Yamingkaiu was surprised, it's actually that child. Yes. Although Uncle Li felt that the child was dishonest and lying from beginning to end, the fact was that the child indeed saved the young master, and he would not hide this from his wife. Yamingkaiu sighed, what a good boy. He risked his life to save our family Nanli. Uncle Li smiled. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 259. Yamingkaiu just felt a little confused. Nanli obviously liked the child, and the child was his savior. Except for the fact that he had some unpleasantness with the Wen family in terms of background, which might cause his grandfather not to like the girl very much, everything else was fine. Well, there was no need for him to hide the child from her. It's really puzzling. The winter rain in Haikan is also long and dripping. The next night, in Xiaotangshan's room, only the floor lamp was dimly lit, the dark grey curtains were half rolled up, and Fu Nanli was sitting on the sofa by the window, smoking. He was not a heavy smoker. He only smoked two when he couldn't relieve his boredom, so there was almost no cigarette smell on his body. Standing behind him was Fu Chuan. The red flame of the cigarette flickered on and off, and the room was quiet, with the only sound of rain being heard. Fu Nanli suddenly spoke, like an old-fashioned record player from the 19th century, with a voice filled with the helplessness and loneliness of the years. Do you think a boring person like me should live alone all his life? Fu Chuan tapped his fingers on the back of the sofa. What do you know? Fu Nanli closed his eyes lightly, looked at the drizzle outside, and gently flicked the ash from the cigarette into the ashtray beside him with his slender fingers. What can I know? I thought that a person like you would never have the chance to meet a girl like Xiao Wen and fall in love with her. Fu Nanli glanced at him. Fu Chuan is probably the one who knows Fu Nanli best among the brothers. The meaning of that look is very clear, telling him to shut up and stop talking. All the words were choked in his throat, and Fu Chuan couldn't figure it out. He knew exactly what kind of person Fu Nanli was. He was the sole heir of the Fu family who was subtle in appearance but ruthless in his methods. Those who offend him, or those who deceive him, never end well. But he had no intention of saying anything, and he wouldn't say anything more. You should not live your life alone. You should have the most brilliant and glorious life, with a wife who loves you and lovely children. Fu Nanli lit the cigarette ashes, with a bitter smile on his face. How is the investigation going on the island? Fu Chuan said in a deep voice, all kinds of evidence point directly to Fu Jiang. It was expected, but I always felt that things were still a bit abnormal. When Fu Jiang did this, he could understand that Fu Jiangmai had lost a lot of money and wanted to plead with his grandfather to fill the hole. He was afraid that he would not be so easy to talk to when he came back, so he designed to trap him on the island. Did he think too much? Trapping him on the island was just for him, not Jojo. When Xiao held the key in his hand, held up an umbrella, and looked at the yard next door. It was better not to get through it yet. If Fu Nanli asked, he would say that this house belonged to his mother's friend, and Aunt Xiaojun didn't want to change the layout of the house. But as long as Fu Nanli is not allowed to come to her home, he won't know whether she has gotten through or not. She put the keys and the diamond necklace into her small wooden box and placed them in the cabinet next to her bed. After leaving the room, when Emma was watching TV in the living room, which happened to be on the financial channel, when Xiao saw something about the debt crisis being broadcast on it. Those named were the Zhonghong Company of the He family and the Fu family. When Emma was obviously not interested in these financial matters. Just as he was about to change the channel, Wen Xiao held down the remote control and said, "Let me take a look." The He family's cosmetics company Yuelin Group has a capital chain shortage and is currently experiencing a business crisis. The exclusive agency rights of its famous European and American brand Dalen have been handed over to others. This time Yuelin Group lost nearly 100% due to its eldest son He Kong's investment in debt. The Hong Kong stock index plummeted by billions of dollars. At the end of the year, the He family reported deficits in many financial reports. Stock investors needed the He family to step in and stabilize public sentiment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 260. When Xiao tapped the remote control with his fingers. The He family suffered heavy losses. Did Fu Nanli do something secretly? The next news came from Fu Jiang's family, which was similar. Zhonghong Group also suffered heavy losses due to the debt incident. When the two are combined, Wen Xiao knows. Fu Nanli must have taken action. There was a very clear understanding in her mind that those who offend Fu Nanli will not end well. She felt that those people really deserved their punishment, and she felt a little uneasy at the same time. There was no peace for the He family and the Fu family. And He Kong and Fu Jiang didn't even know that their heavy losses were caused deliberately by someone. Only He Qian knew, but she didn't dare to say it. If she said that she offended Fu Nanli and provoked Fu Nanli's revenge, her mother would definitely be angry. Fu Huade also went to the Fu family's old house twice because of this incident, but Fu Huayong said that he was not ill. Fu Huade felt very uneasy. He went home and lectured Fu Jiang in various ways, feeling that he must have offended Fu Nanli, which made Fu Jiang's resentment even deeper. The weather forecast reported that there would be snowfall in central China in the next 3 days. Chun Xiao called excitedly, "Qiao Qiao, come to Lingyan Temple to shoot a video. It's a good chance to increase your followers." So, the day before it snowed, Wen Qiao and Lu Yuyu drove to Hangzhou together. Also accompanying, Yu Shu and Dong Yao. Yu Shu crossed his legs and sat in the back seat. "Why did you call me?" Wen Qiao's face remained calm and his heart did not beat. "We are going to use 2 cameras to shoot a video of a 4-person ensemble, so." Yu Shu pointed at her, "You can't even hide it, you just use me as a tool." Lu Yuyu said with a guilty conscience, "After all, you are also a member of the folk music club." You also have to produce something, don't you think? What about me? Dong Yao was wearing a dark green sweater and a black down jacket. His bangs were cut shorter, his facial features were delicate, and his skin was fair. Yushu patted his shoulder and said, I can see your face clearly now, with your looks, I feel like you can be a pretty boy who is just a freeloader. Wenqiao. Is this a compliment or a criticism? Don't think about it, you are a tool just like me. Lu Yuyu chuckled, Dong Yao, you take the panorama, Yushu, you take the close-up. When the car entered the rest area to rest, light snow began to fall in the sky. Lu Yuyu took a selfie stick to take a photo of the four of them, and then posted it in the circle of friends. The last time Lu Yuyu went to Xiaotangshan with Wenqiao, she shamelessly asked to be friends with Fu Nanli. For Wenqiao's sake, Fu Nanli approved her friend application. Therefore, Fu Nanli quickly saw this photo that appeared in his circle of friends. Wenqiao was wearing a bean paste-colored down jacket and a red beret, hugging Lu Yuyu and smiling brightly. Reminds me of the saying she has a free soul. The life of a girl is full of sky and sky, but for him, apart from work, his life is filled with intrigues and scheming. Wenqiao and the others had something to eat in the service area. When they returned to the car, they received a message from Fu Nanli where they went to play. Go to Hangzhou and go to Lingyan Temple to shoot a snow scene video with people in the club. New. As a small group, they all have experts in makeup, hair, and outfits. Chunxiao and Lu Yuyu can form a styling team. Because Wenqiao just caught a cold, Chunxiao got her a large ancient-style cloak, which was very thick underneath. 4 people were sitting in a pavilion, with 2 SLR cameras mounted on tripods. The miserable Dong Yao had to take pictures of people and snow scenes, so he stood in the snow wearing a raincoat and took videos of the 4 people. He felt like he was on a pirate ship, but he couldn't seem to get off.